Welcome to our next episode of DecentMed Spotlight. Today we're here with Bethany Stone, CEO of Thriving by Nature. She is very experienced, over 23 years in the education space. She's an international speaker with over a decade of experience, 2 years coaching on her own, and over a decade coaching in general. She has a podcast, Thriving by Nature, and a YouTube channel, Thriving by Nature with Bethany Stone. Bethany, introduce yourself.
I'm Bethany Stone, and I am an adult Montessori teacher. Some people understand that and some people won't understand that. But what that is, it is specifically somebody who can observe your behaviors, the way that you learn, and meet you where you're at to teach you independence, to teach you confidence, and to teach you just that intrinsic motivation that you need to really thrive. And so when I went into my own coaching, I decided that that was the route I was going to take. So I am a master mindset and life skills coach. I'm not a life coach. I'm a life skills coach. I teach you the skill set that you need to really make you successful in your life in every aspect. So I teach self-care, and within 5 areas of self-care, there's about 52 different life skills I've been able to identify to actually help you become the person that you really want to be without the roadblocks. So many people will read all the self-care books and all those things to help them, but then it's difficult to apply them because they're missing some of the skill set that is in there. They don't talk about that. And that's what I do. I meet you where you're at. I teach you the skill set that you need so that all of the wonderful things that you're thinking about and wanting to do and keep hitting your head against the block, I teach you how to get through that and how to really thrive. And that's why my business is called Thriving by Nature, because we all have it within us. We just have to have that unlocked and have that nurtured in a way that it will grow.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And another thing about you is that you co-authored 4 books, which is fantastic, and you're working on a book now. But before we get to that, I want to start with life skills coach. So you see so many coaches in the space that are life coaches, that are life architects, health coaches, mindset coaches, so many things. And you work with business owners. And as a business owner, I know that there's a lot of life skills that you need because it's extremely difficult to be a business owner, and it's extremely variable. Things are shifting all the time. So as you mentioned the 52, what would be the 3 life skills that you found have been most integral for a successful business owner?
Time management, number 1. Number 2, I would say confidence and how to do that. And then number 3 would be communication. Those are the 3 that I find are really crucial and that people struggle with. Time management is a tricky one because as a business owner, you have to become basically a polymath. You have to become very skilled in so many different skills. And it's difficult because sometimes we fall short in one area or another. And by doing so, we try to compensate by doing something else. And it's almost like we're just swimming upstream sometimes. I mean, we're making a little bit of progress, but we just keep getting pushed back because we don't have the skill set to know that, guess what? You cannot swim up the current. You have to go to the edge where the current is light and then swim upstream. And then pretty soon, once it becomes easy, you're able to get out and run up the river. And that's something that a lot of people don't understand, that you have to become versed in many different life skills. There is patience, meditation. These are life skills. Communication, peace, just peace education on how to center yourself and ground yourself when there's chaos. Because as a business owner, we care so much about our businesses. And it's not just about our businesses. We have relationships at home. We have relationships that are in our lives. And what it all comes down to is if we are not okay, Our businesses aren't okay. Our relationships aren't okay. Everything suffers. And that's why I brought everything back to, because I'm a curriculum coordinator, I brought everything back to a program that I created about self-care. Because when you really invest in yourself, which is not, it's not super common to just think about yourself, because we have this idea that that's selfish.
Mm-hmm.
But the truth is that if you manage your time, if you manage the way that you communicate, if you manage the way that you are approaching everything, that is self-care. And that is what's going to push you. That's what's going to create that polymath mentality. That's what's going to teach you how to move forward and get out of that current, swim up where it's a little easier, and get out of the river.
So one element that a lot of business owners face as our platform is all about holistic health and experiencing vitality is burnout, especially corporate burnout. And as your website states, from breakthrough to burnout. So in your opinion and in your personal experience as well as your professional experience, what is the correlation between burnout and self-care, and how have you seen your clients experience that breakthrough by focusing on self-care?
There's something that is called the vicious cycle. Mm-hmm. So many people will get caught in this vicious cycle and not know it. And so I actually created a diagram so you could see the steps that actually happen within this vicious cycle. And what happens is, as business owners, we are very, very hard on ourselves. Even in any type of corporate industry, if you're not meeting your deadlines, if you're not doing the things that you have set, because we set these invisible bars in our head of what we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it. And if you're not doing that, we negative self-talk ourselves. We don't reframe it in a way that, wow, that was a learning experience. Okay, I'm going to learn from that and I'm going to do it this way next time. Instead, we're like, ugh, that was so stupid. Why did I do it like that? Why did I, not do it the right way the first time? Why did I have to do this 3 times? Why did I, and we will negative self-talk ourselves. When we do that, our bodies and our minds are connected, completely connected. And we forget that because whatever we tell our minds, our bodies are going to start to react. Mm. And we're going to start feeling burned out from just a negative thought. We're going to feel exhausted. We're going to start having fear. And when we have fear towards anything, we start stop progressing. And then after fear, pretty soon we're going to start withdrawing. We're going to start having low self-esteem. We're going to really be caught in this vicious cycle of closing in on ourselves, not wanting to take care of ourselves, thinking that self-care is sitting on the couch and binge watching Netflix and isolating ourselves, when in reality, that is us falling deeper into a vicious cycle until we're not achieving our goals and we're just spinning. And really, it's not a cycle, it's a funnel. And so that is burnout. And many of us, well, all of us get caught in it. And the trick is to recognize when you're in it, get the tools to be able to recognize that and jump out of it. And how to jump out of that, knowing that your mind and your body are connected. So the program that I created, it's called the 5 Buckets of Self-Care. And the reason why it's called the 5 Buckets is because, yes, I've been in the education space for a very long time. And there was a song, like as I was teaching, it's called, it's called, "There's a hole in your bucket, dear Lila, there's a hole in your bucket, dear Lila, a hole." And it's about, this hole in their bucket. I would never teach this song because it drove me crazy, because they put mud and straw, all these things in these holes, and they never fix the bucket. At the end of the song, there's still a hole in the bucket, and that drove me absolutely insane. So I named my course, or my program, it's not even a course, it's a program because it's so individualized, the 5 Buckets of Self-Care. And you always start with your emotional self-care. So many people are emotionally aware, but very few people have, I've messed up. So many people have emotional intelligence, but are not emotionally aware. Those two things are separate. And when you have emotional awareness, you understand where you're at within that vicious cycle. And when you understand where you're at in that vicious cycle, you can jump out. So it always starts with emotional self-care. Then you start with spiritual self-care. That's the second bucket, because you have to ground yourself. You have to center yourself when you are going through the chaos of being a business owner. And then the center of these 5 is one of the most important. It is the most important. It is your physical self-care, which includes your health. It includes your diet, your movement, your environment, your sleeping, your hydration. And if you do not have your health, you do not have anything. So many people don't understand that until their health is at jeopardy, and it affects everything. And then after your physical self-care, you start working on your social self-care, which is your communication and your relationships and your conflict resolution. Those things are crucial to be able to move forward in your business or with your employees or your employees with you. All of those things are so crucial. And then your last one is intellectual self-care. How do you continue to fan the flame of wanting to learn, of continuing moving forward, of continued improvement, of always being that 1% better, always working on that and actually achieving it? That's what I do. And so it's all holistic. Yeah. Because everything is meeting you exactly where you're at. And when it comes to that center bucket of physical self-care, yes, I do herbs. I do my own tinctures. I will talk a lot about ways that you can improve yourself, because your food can be your medicine. And it's true, these plants and things are put here for our use, so that we can use them to improve our lives and help us to achieve the goals that we need to. They're amazing. And most pharmaceuticals, if not all, are derived from some type of a plant. And why not use the full source and the true source rather than some chemically modified junk that we already are coming. There's already studies coming out that, guess what? All these things are inflammatory. The chemical compound of this artificial thing that is supposed to represent this plant that we have now created in the lab actually has side effects. So why not use the true source? And there's a difference. And it does help you so much.
100%. And it's not a cycle, it's a funnel. And I really like the way you stated that. And even in that bucket analogy, again, back to holistic medicine, it's the root cause. And I think a lot of people fail to address the root cause. So something that you've mentioned, and I read on your website, is that as you were growing your business and had burnout, your relationship suffered. And I've seen this in my own self. I remember I had a girlfriend in June, and she broke up with me because I was so focused on business that my relationship suffered. I couldn't give that part of me to anybody, my family, my friends, my relationships, anybody, because I was so uber focused. So as a business owner, I think a lot of business owners fail this. That's why a lot of business owners tend to cheat. That's why a lot of business owners tend to be single, and etc. So how do you help business owners on the relationship side in being able to manage growing and scaling a business and giving time to another person?
So there's a rule called the 8-8-8 rule. I don't know if you've heard of that, but it's like 8 hours of sleeping, 8 hours of working, and then 8 hours of doing something that fulfills you, because there's 24 hours in a day. And it is about time management. Realistically, that rule doesn't actually work all the time. Like, being honest, I mean, especially as a business owner, this is a great idea, right? But there's so many things that you can put within your day that we as business owners have the freedom to do. Yes, relationships are important. You have to make the people in your life know that they're important to you just as much as your business. And whether that is before you go to work, write on the mirror in your bathroom, hey, thanks for this, I love you, blah, 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 or something every single day. It's the little things that take hardly any time that build a relationship. And we don't realize that. Sometimes we think it's, we need to go out. We have to go vacation. We have to spend all this time. But if you really want to build relationships, it's the little things that matter the most. The little text messages, the little I love yous. Those things matter quite a bit. And it shows that you appreciate them just as much as your business. And then blocking that out, making non-negotiable time. Like, this time is non-negotiable. We do something this time no matter what. And deciding what your non-negotiables are. I mean, I am a busy mom. I'm a busy mom. I have 6 kids. I have an amazing husband. Granted, 4 of those kids are now young adults, and one of them actually just proposed to his girlfriend yesterday, so that's kind of weird and ages me, but that's cool. Whatever. It's fine. And then the youngest, she's 12, and it's the only girl, so there's 5 boys and a little girl. Well, I guess she's not so little. And I am her dance teacher. I'm her ballroom dance teacher. I take time out to teach ballroom dance because it's something that still fulfills me to this day. And it's something that I can commit to her all the time. And I get to have that relationship with her. And you have to do things that are non-negotiables. I also teach bungee fitness classes. And that is something that fulfills me. To have that social outlet, to be able to meet all these new people, just to bounce around. I mean, it's fun. And I like to do it. Like, you have to find a balance. Life is about a balance. People are like, you're so busy. And I don't feel busy. I never feel busy. I feel fulfilled. Right before this, if you notice how pink I am, I literally, here's all truth. I just got back from the gym and I threw on this shirt because it looks pretty good and I did not shower yet, but you cannot smell me through a camera, so it's fine. And I threw on makeup because my face was super duper pink because I was just in the sauna for 20 minutes after my workout. But this is reality, and this is time management. And this is the beauty of also technology. This is how you run your life. You make non-negotiables and you meet every obligation. And when you do that, you're there for your business, you're there for the people that you love, and you're there for you. That's why I teach the things I do. That's why I exercise. That's why I sit in the sauna. These things are for me and they fulfill me so I can be there for other people. And I think that people don't understand that self-care is for your soul. It is so that you can fulfill yourself so that you can give to others.
You are dropping gems today, Bethany. Self-care is for your soul. And it's interesting because at our DecentMed Summit, we had a provider, her name is Ramona Crabtree Faulkner. She's a transformational empowerment coach. And she said what you just said about the non-negotiables. Her talk was about setting boundaries and the value of setting boundaries when it comes to burnout. So switching gears to self-confidence. Let's start with, what is self-confidence?
Well, self-confidence is, basically knowing that you're doing it for you, not for somebody else. And that is a really hard thing and a hard concept to teach now because we have social media. And so many times we're doing things for the heart, the thumbs up, the whatever it is. And our self-confidence has now been tied to, let's take it back to a kindergarten mentality, that gold star. We're doing things for that gold star rather than for us. And when we do things for those other things, that recognition, that gold star, we can lead to burnout so much quicker because we are working ourselves so hard to get outward appreciation that we're not doing it for ourselves anymore. And when we stop doing things for ourselves, we've sucked the joy out of it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if anyone looks at I do these little hot takes mindset in the sauna because, I'm at the sauna. I actually did one today, and it doesn't matter if people see that or not. I know that I need to put this out. I know that there's certain people that follow me that, like these little tidbits of life skills and mindset thoughts for the day. And so I do them. I don't ever look. I don't care. I don't care hundreds of people see it, 1,000 people, 2,000, I don't care. Because it's not about that. It's about who needs to find it. And I think that so many people are on social media now that I would rather put things on there that are fulfilling and make people happy rather than, are you constantly stressed? There's so much stress. There's so much like people working on the pain points all the time, right? I'm sure you've heard that, especially if you're a business owner, like work on their pain point, Yeah. But if so many people are constantly dwelling on pain points and you're just trying to like chill out and have like just scroll and just zone out, and all you're doing is making yourself feel worse, I don't want to do that. I'd rather build. I'm in the business of building, not tearing down.
I like that, and you're right. And the thing is I think that a lot of people, like you said earlier, they get caught up in the social metrics. When at the end, and I tell providers this all the time, the views don't matter. What matters is the conversions. You can have 1 million views, or you can have 2 views, but if one of those 2 views results in a sale, that matters a whole lot more than you having 1 million views and then scrolling past. The other thing that you mentioned is the importance of self-confidence because as a business owner, and I know this, you're going to get told no a lot of times. You're going to get ignored. People are going to tell you to F off. But you have to have that resilience and that persistence and consistency in order to be successful. You have to keep calling, keep sending DMs, keep emailing, because if you don't and you just give up, you lose your self-confidence. So what are the other skills?
And you're doing it for you. That's right.
Yes. I like that. But the other skill you mentioned is communication. And what is the benefit of communication, and how do you help people communicate effectively?
Well, I'm going to tell a story. Are you ready for a story? Okay, this story is about communication, but it doesn't say it at the beginning. It's an Aesop fable, and it is about the north wind and the sun. And the north wind saw somebody looking down on earth, and he was wearing a coat and just walking. And he said to the sun, "Hey, I bet that I can get that guy down there to take off his coat faster than you." And so the sun goes, "Okay." So the wind goes down and he starts blowing. He blows and he blows and he blows and he blows. And the more that he blows, the tighter this guy holds this coat around him. And he holds it tighter and tighter and tighter. And the north wind finally gives up. And then the sun goes down, and all he does is he is slow, he is patient, he is consistent. And slowly this man just takes off his coat all by himself. Now, communication is very, very important. And the way that we communicate is very important, because we have been trained just in the way that the world is now to just pull back if somebody is forceful, if somebody is saying words that we don't resonate with. Our minds go like this and pull that coat, and we go back. The way that we communicate is very important. And the way that we communicate needs to be, well, meeting them where they're at, slow, patient, persistent. And when they're ready, they open up their coats and they come right to you. Because it's not about blowing and blowing and blowing. It's about showing the truth and being honest and not pressuring. Because when you do that, people are more willing to come to you.
That's a great point. And I found that even as a business owner, is that, especially in sales, is if you just keep and don't ever find a way to figure out, okay, why are they not answering? So they do some research. Maybe, for example, there was times where I would reach out to providers and this wasn't even their full-time job. And it's like, well, you can't expect them to respond if it's not even their full-time job. So you're completely right, and I really like that fable. And I do remember Aesop fables when I was a child. So another thing that you mentioned on your website, and we have hypnotherapists on our website that focus on subconscious reprogramming. And our first mindset coach actually stated that 96% of what we do comes from that subconscious. It doesn't come from the conscious, it comes from the subconscious. So you state on your website, mindset reprogramming. And when I think of that, I think immediately of affirmations. And ever since I met Priscilla, who's our first mindset coach, I do affirmations every single day. And I do it in a way in which I'm thanking the universe for what will happen. But what is mindset reprogramming and how can you help your clients achieve that?
So, the first 7 years of life are the most crucial years of our life. They mold us. And this is where sometimes we have to do a little bit of reprogramming. Because if we experience any trauma, if we experience any just emotions that we did not understand or resonate with, which we all did, by the way, that literally embeds us for the rest of our lives. Because our minds are the most absorbent during the years 0 to 7. By the time we're 7 years old, we've concreted most of our personality traits, most of our belief system, and what we deem as right and wrong. Like our core of who we are kind of starts solidifying. And we'll go back to that. The problem is that we were 7 years old. And we have a lot of thinking errors at that age. We don't understand emotions. But because we experience trauma or anything else during that age, whenever something similar happens, we go back to that feeling. We go back to that thought process, even though it's wrong. I'm sure that you've heard of like thinking errors, right? You've heard of that phrase. These are just thinking errors. Yeah. And we have a lot of them, and some of them are embedded clear to our core. And it's about taking those thinking errors and identifying them, reframing them. It's about reframing them and then understanding where that came from so that you can reframe it, understand it. So every single time, it's not going to take it away. But when you have an awareness of what is happening, just like when I talked about the vicious cycle and understanding where you're at in it, when you understand where your thought process is and where it's actually coming from, you're able to control things so much more. Because when you understand the way that you think and the processes and why you think certain ways, you are able to have so much more control over your life, and you're able to make those choices so much more accurately because you have that awareness and you have that control. And there's a huge difference rather than, I'm just feeling this, so I'm going to respond. It's like responding and reacting. They're two different things because you don't really want to react. And that's what happens is you end up reacting, not responding. I got that mixed up. But yeah, that's what happens.
That's a great point. So if you were to describe your coaching methodology in 3 words, what would they be?
3 words. Ooh. Individualized, caring, and progress.
So why did you choose the last one? Because I understand the individualized and I understand the caring, but the last one is really interesting, progress.
Because when you are not progressing in life the way that you want to, it is definitely because you are missing a skill set to be able to progress you. You're not being that polymath that you have to be able to be a business owner or work in your job in the capacity that you want to. You need to progress. And that's what I teach. I teach progress. I teach that. I meet you where you're at so that you can progress. And that is literally, it's all in our minds. It's all about the skill set. It's about the way that we're thinking about things. There's so many clients that I have that are kinesthetic learners, and they do not respond well to just a PDF, filling out this PDF. I mean, that's not a way that people always learn. And I don't know if you've heard of like thinking putty or, just those thicker putties that you can play with. There'll be many times I will tell my clients, I need you to go get some of that putty. And when we have our sessions, I need you to be playing with it. I don't want you to take notes because it's not going to matter because they're kinesthetic. But when they are playing with something and they are learning in a way that they are meant to learn, they are going to progress. Like, it is about meeting people exactly where they're at, whether they're an auditory visual, kinesthetic visual, whatever kind of a learner they are. It's about meeting them exactly where they need to be so that they can progress.
Well, and not only that, but 2.5 to 6% of adults globally have ADHD. And when you think about ADHD, and I have ADHD, and so does my mom, I need some secondary source in order to focus. So I'll have music in the background as I'm working. And my mom will do the same. So like you mentioned, having that putty or people that have the squeeze ball, they're able to, okay, I'm doing something that stops my thinking, and now I can what that can say. And the other thing is, and I always remember this when we first started the business, I would take copious notes. And the thing I found was that that's just busy work. That's not actually the doing. So you're taking all these notes and you have, notebooks on top of notebooks filled with notes that you're never going to look at again. But if you can just zone in and focus, you're going to get a lot more. And as someone that's been in the education space, you definitely know all about this.
Yeah. So for me, I'm a visual kinesthetic learner. And so when I take notes, I write them down, but I write in cursive. And when I write it, I remember. I don't have to go back and do it because I see it and I write it and then I remember it. But an auditory kinesthetic learner has to hear it and touch something. And that's different. And I'm speaking at an educational conference in January, actually in a couple weeks here. And I speak on this a lot, and it's called Engaging the Unengageable is my topic. And I've given this talk multiple times. And it talks about how we are different learners and how we have to have, multiple senses attached to us to be able to learn. Just like you're saying, you have to listen to music to be able to focus. That is a very common thing. And we are now, because what has happened, especially with the kids coming up, the 20 to 30-year-olds, like that whole age range, we have created dopamine addicts. And they have to have so much input all the time to be able to function, because they have to have that dopamine constant. That's why you'll sit down in the waiting room and you start looking around, and nobody can just sit. Nobody's just talking to each other. Nobody's picking up magazines anymore. Everyone's grabbing their phone. Yeah. And they're like, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. That's what we're looking for. And so we're just a whole world of dopamine addicts. And so it's about meeting us where we're at and how to do that so that we can actually progress, my word, and learn.
And that's what I like so much about your coaching, because I'll be honest, I always knew, because as a business owner, my mom told me, she said there's 3 ways to progress. 1, you can go and get your MBA. 2, you can learn from someone. And 3, you can get a job and just save up a bunch of money and learn that way, which honestly in 2025, the MBA isn't as valuable, and learning from someone, the business world is not the same, because a business owner typically comes in for 2 minutes, is on his iPad, and he's not even talking to you at all. So really, you need that third one. And to be honest, in most cases, you have to pay for it. The thing is, to your point, when I always taught coaches, I thought of 2 types. The Bill Belichick of the world, if you're a sports gal, or the guru, Andrew Tate, Sneeko, people that were my age or a little bit older than me, and they made money, but they didn't make money in the traditional business world, and they're trying to teach me. It's like I never valued or respected coaching. But after this conversation, I understand the value of a coach because of the one thing that you said, which is I meet people where they are. So whether I just started my business yesterday or I just finished my first year of business and I'm moving into my second year, you meet people where they are, understanding that that person that just started yesterday there's a lot of things that they don't know that I know. But because I'm going into my second year, there's a boatload of things that I don't know that you know as someone that's been doing this for over 2 years, coaching for even longer, and in the education space for even longer than that. Yet alone, you know, 20 years. But again, the things that they fail at is, like I said earlier, relationships. The things that they didn't even think were valuable. They just thought money, money, money. And the thing I'm learning about the ecosystem of 2025 is the business world of 1990s and 2000 with the Dan Paynes of the world are not the same. You can't cuss at your employees. You can't treat your employees badly because your employees will either leave you or they'll sue you. Now you have to have a relationship EQ mindset in order to have employees that stay long term. In order to motivate, especially in the sales world, in order to motivate salespeople to continue to make calls and work for you and not work for you, but at the same time look for another job. And the turnover rate in sales is ridiculously high.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right about all of it. That is exactly. And there is so I told you I've been a teacher for a long time. Every single time I would give a tour of the school or like my school or a classroom or whatever, every parent would say, I wish I would have learned this way. They would always say that. Because when you're meeting a child, an adult, whoever, exactly where they're at and customizing what they need, not trying to put everyone into a box. I have so much material, but I've been a curriculum builder for so long. I can literally observe somebody and know what kind of a learner they are. I know that you're a kinesthetic visual learner. Like I knew that the first time I met you.
Is that one where I need those? Yeah.
It's where you need to touch things and see things. Like you need to touch it and see it. Like you can hear it all you want, but unless you experience it, it doesn't really soak in.
Yes.
And yeah, and I can see that because I've been in this space for so long that just by seeing people, I can tell what kind of a learner they are. And I think that's a very unique thing. I didn't mean to do that. It's just I've been doing it for a long time. And it's interesting because when you have that skill set, it kind of already like puts you on a higher level to be able to just jumpstart. Okay, let me help you. Okay, this is where you're at. This is what we need. Let's get going. Because nobody wants to be stagnant in life. Nobody wants to just feel like they're in the vicious cycle of repeating and not reaching any of their goals and just getting sucked into the funnel. Nobody wants to feel that. But there's a lot of people that do. And it really is, taking a step back because, we can be hitting our head against that brick wall over and over and over and over again. And then we take that step back and we realize that there is a door right next to that wall. And sometimes it just takes somebody to help us to do that.
So we'll close with this. You said that you are working on a book, and it's a two-part question. The first one is, tell me a little bit about the book that you're working on, and you did mention it a little bit with this engaging the unengageable, but what are some things that you're working on in 2026? And tell us a little bit about the book.
So things I'm working on in 2026, I have now opened up a drop-in group coaching. So that has been new. So for people that are in the corporate world and need to just, self-care is weird and our schedules are weird. And I've realized this now. And I'm like, okay. So I just have done drop-in group coaching. And no matter what, if you gain anything, sometimes you just need a little bit of support. You don't need a huge coaching every week commitment. Sometimes you just need, okay, I need some support here. Okay, this is hard. I need some support here. So I'm creating, and I haven't seen anyone do this, but just a drop-in group coaching. That's something I'm excited about. I'm speaking a lot and I still have some time available. So if you need a motivational speaker for your company or corporation, I still have time spots open for this this year. I am booked out for November though, and January I'm also booked out. But so I've been speaking a lot and just coaching. This is my plan for this next year. Just keep doing what I already know is working and supporting and helping people. And my book, it is called Seeds of Potential. And it talks about how we all have these seeds within us to grow. And I love plants, and everything is a plant metaphor with me because I grew up with plants in a greenhouse. And so it talks about how we need to nourish our soil and nourish our roots, and how we grow ourselves, and how actually our plants can get poisoned and our seeds can get sick and things like that, and how to like reignite that when that does happen. And so that I'll probably have that completely published and everything. The deadline that I'm setting for myself is June. So I'm working on that. And then, yeah, I'm excited about this next year. I'm excited about everything that I'm just stepping into and things I have stepped into. I'm excited about being keynote speaker. I'm excited about just doing everything. And your other question, engaging the unengageable. Are you interested in what more that is? What is that about?
Okay.
So that I've now given this talk. This will be the third time I've given this talk. And this one is literally about how we start in childhood and how we have to engage a child. Because realistically, we're all just big kids. And how that transcends into adults. And how we are now approaching adults like through sales or just through our businesses. And it's so hard to engage them. It is so hard to engage people that are, well, dopamine addicts and not engageable. And it's about how do we meet them where they're at? How do we approach more than one sense, like what we were talking about, our senses, so that they can be engaged? And that's what I talk about.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Bethany. This has been our latest episode of DecentMed Spotlight. You can find Bethany at thrivingbynature.com or decentmed.org/mindset. Thank you for having us, and have a great day.